भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की सिंह प्रभुपाद की प्रेमानंद।
You. No, you. No, it's you. Yeah, it's you. I'm not joking. It's actually you. For what? The friend you made. I'm actually not joking. I think you like it. I thought you were that too. Of course. Looks like one guy.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madhuji, for moving ahead. May I request everyone to please come up to him. It's not a goal. See, pretty much every week we have to move during the class. Do we really want to disturb the class? So if not, we have to move down. So we have many announcements, but as we are doing for last few weeks, we'll keep those special announcements reserved for the end of the class, so we have a better coverage. But just so that we have some mood set, we are going to be celebrating the most auspicious day on cosmic manifestation, which is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day. And when are we celebrating? Thursday, 13th of March, just 4 days from now. So please block your calendar, whatever way, try to be here if possible whole day. And in order to set the mood, right, we have a special Sunday speaker today. His name is Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu. Right, so on Gauranga Prabhu's appearance day, we'll be hearing from Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for being here on this very special gathering. Just for my purification, Prabhuji is in the process for about 30 years, which is a long time. So very well versed in Shastras, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think I announced it yet. Does anyone know how many times you have read Chaitanya Charitamrita? 55. 55 times. Many of us may not even have read 55 books in a life. Other than the books. The last year of that, I will be 56. But he also told is very well qualified. He is doctor. He is the person who's teaching medical profession in very university to above doctors. He's teaching the doctors. So very well qualified, very amazing devotees, and he has a well worth of Shastra. He wrote many applications that around the world Krishna used to preach. So it's an honor to hear from his great Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu. And the topic for today is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, the temple that he has visited in his South Indian land. So let's welcome his great Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu to our traditional way by 3 times loudly chanting. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. His great Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu ki jai. Now Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Guru Sagrajatam Sangham Bhagunatam Advaitam Srijnivam Samadvaitam Savadvitam Parichana Sritam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sangham Harita Shri Vishakharita Shri Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jaganpate Gopeshwara Gopika Aradhanta Namaste Tantamancha Gauranga Radhe Vishwari Vishwami Suferi Madhavi Bharipriye Pancha Kalpariyo Pascha Vipasri Bhutavecham Adhikana Pavati Guru Vaishnavi Prabhu Bhagavan Namo Vishnu Krishna Krishna Gurukade Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nirvana Namaste Saraswati Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, and thank you very much for this opportunity here. Thank you, Krishna Prabhu, for asking me to speak today. I'm not qualified to speak here, but if I say anything wrong or if there's anything incorrect in anything what I'm saying, please feel free to correct me in the end. And thank you very much for my humble obeisance to all the Vaishnavas here. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So the topic today, which we have put, is called the temples visited by Lord Chaitanya. This is not an exhaustive list of the temples visited by Lord Chaitanya. Since Gaura Purnima is coming this Thursday, I picked this topic. It contains only a few temples because this can run for a number of presentations. Some of the temples, the history is so long, so I'm not doing justice to any of the temples. So please forgive me for that. So we will start with the first temple here, which will be Jagannath Puri. So because Lord Chaitanya stayed in Puri for the longest duration, and we will start with this invocation prayer of Lord Chaitanya, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this was a prayer recited by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was a very great personality. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he saw Mahaprabhu, he stated these verses: Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartamekaha Purushaha Puranaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripambhuri Yastamaham Prapadhe. So that means if
Shikshartha Mekaha. What has Lord Chaitanya come to teach here? Vairagya Vidya, the art of renunciation, the knowledge of renouncement, the knowledge of detachment, and the true devotional service, Nija Bhakti Yoga, the true devotional service unto the personality of Krishna. And who is that? Who is that personality who has come to teach this true sense of devotional service? Purushaha Puranaha. Purana is the first primordial person. And who is the primordial first person? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradari. Unto this personality of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Kripam Buddhi, yes, Tamham Prapati. He is offering his humble obeisances unto the supreme personality, the primordial person of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'll start with the first temple here, Lord Jagannath. The way this presentation is set is, it is not just talking about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, because many of the verses where he visited, it has only like one or two verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But we will talk about some interactions of devotees in each of these temples. So in Jagannath Puri, so this incident happened in 17, I'm going to narrate two incidents. One incident happened in 1790. Okay, so this is sort of like a temple tour. So we'll just travel together and go through these temples today. So this one incident is in 1790. The other incident I'll tell you is before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya in the 1300s. So this is related to Dasya Bauri. The reason I selected this one was because His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhu spoke about it 2 weeks ago in a Saturday morning program. So I picked this one. So Dasya Bauri, so he sang hymns about Lord Jagannath in his village in Baligram in Orissa. And so what he did was he was not allowed to enter the temple in those days. So he gave some coconut to the village leader and asked him to go offer it to Lord Jagannath. Okay. And the village leader really didn't understand what exactly it meant. Like he said, just go raise the coconut and Lord Jagannath would take it. Okay. And he said, if you just return it back to me, if Jagannath doesn't accept the coconut. So this village leader, he did that. He raised the coconut. Okay. And then suddenly his hands froze. And then the coconut just slipped out of his hands. And then it just miraculously just disappeared. But inside the temple, the pandars there in the main altar, they suddenly saw all the coconut shells just scattered all around the altar there. And because Lord Jagannath had just took the coconut himself. And in another instance, what happened was this Dasya Bauri, he envisioned, so since he was not allowed inside the temple, he saw that the chakra on the top called as the Neela chakra. And then he prayed to Lord Jagannath and offered a basket of mangoes to the deity of Lord Jagannath. And suddenly the basket itself disappeared. And then the priests, they all saw all the skin of the mangoes all over the altar as Lord Jagannath accepted it. So in this way, there are so many pastimes associated with Lord Jagannath. So I'm not going to do justice to it, but we will do a few incidents as we move today. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself stayed there for a number of years, especially during his in the latter pastimes, in the later pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here, if there is Sarabhava Bhattacharya has composed a number of verses on Mahaprabhu. This is another verse which is also quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I will talk about after this incident, which is, so this incident happened in 1392 with another devotee called Bandhu Mohanty. So Bandhu Mohanty, he was, he said he was a very poor devotee. And he told, but his wife, he's been telling his wife that he has a friend who's very rich. But his wife was unaware of the identity of the friend. Okay. And but every day he used to tell his wife, do not worry, my friend is very rich. And he's the owner of a whole town and he has a huge palace. But his wife was very innocent and she didn't know that what he was talking about, whom he was talking about was Jagannath himself. And but then one day they were so impoverished, so much they had so much poverty that they could not feed the kids well could not feed the kids well. And so the wives then suddenly suggested one day, can we just go see your rich friend? But then the husband, he said that, it will not be a good idea to go visit my friend because we don't even have good attire. Okay, you don't have a good dress. So in this kind of an attire, how is it that we can go see my rich friend? And then, but the wife said, you see, a friendship is beyond all this attire, and therefore let's just go see him. Okay. And then what happened? Okay. And even now, he did not narrate to his wife that his friend was, whom he was talking about, is not some prince or something, but it was Jagannath in the temple. And then they were walking over the night. They didn't have any food for the children. So his wife thought, okay, anyway, we are going to the Jagannath temple. If we ask, there'll be some travelers who will be going around. We will just ask some travelers for some food, and then I'll just feed my children. But that night, there were not many travelers, and they didn't have any food to give to feed the children. And then they reached the Jagannath temple, and just outside the courtyard, they were like sleeping there that night so they could go to the rich man's house the next day. And so as this was happening, suddenly Bandhu Mohanty was very tired. He slept. At that time, a dark-colored person came with a gold tray with a lot of delicious food in it, and then he woke up the wife. Okay, and the wife got up, and then he said, "You see, this is your husband's friend has sent this tray to you all. So please feed the children." And then Bandhu Mohanty was so tired, she didn't wake him up. And then she woke up the children and she fed them all well. And then she also ate. And then the next day morning, Bandhu Mohanty woke up and he said, "You see, your friend sent this gold tray with all the food. You were so tired and you were sleeping. I didn't want to wake you up, but the children are all fed. Yeah, I think it's all a good sign." At that time, Bandhu Mohanty realized that Jagannath himself has come, but his wife got the opportunity to see Jagannath when he was sleeping. And then he realized this, but at that time, the priests in the temple suddenly found the gold tray missing. And then they went and complained to the king there that the gold tray is missing. And then eventually they sent all the guards and everybody to look for where the gold tray is, and it's next to this Bandhu Mohanty. And then they said, okay, then they arrested Bandhu Mohanty, and then they took him inside. And then the only punishment that the king could give to them was death penalty for stealing the property of the deities. So before the death penalty, Bandhu Mohanty was said, okay, it is fine. I mean, either way, whatever it is, Jagannath is going to decide this way or the other. Jagannath is going to decide. And so as this was happening, at that time, the next day was the capital punishment, but Jagannath came in the dream of the king, and he told him, "You see, if you have a visitor, okay, a friend who's coming to visit you, would you not first feed him? In the same way, my friend was coming to visit me. What was wrong in me taking the gold tray and feeding them?" And then immediately the king realized that it is the Lord himself had taken the tray, and then he immediately set free Bandhu Mohanty, and then he said that from today let Bandhu Mohanty be allowed inside the temple. And from today, the first meal of Lord Jagannath would be made by Bandhu Mohanty and his descendants. And even today, it's his descendants that they make the first preparation, first bhog inside the Jagannath temple. So this was another incident. And these are some beautiful pictures of paintings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Jagannath temple, and the Yatra and the temple. And this is the other prayer. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya spoke about Lord Chaitanya. This is the next verse to the previous verse, Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Here, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is again narrating about Lord Chaitanya. Kalanashtham bhakti yogam nijam yaha pradushkartam Krishna Chaitanya nama avirbhuta tasya padaravinde ghadam liyatham chitta bringaha. So this means kalanashtham, over course of time, the signs of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, has all been destroyed. And we can see that even in the Bhagavad Gita. So in different disciplic successions, if it gets over course of time, if it gets destroyed, then the Lord himself comes and starts it again. So he mentioned this about Viveshwan, the sun god, whom the Lord instructs a long time ago, and then eventually the instruction goes off. So he instructs again to Arjun. In the same way, over course of time, this signs of devotional service, which is got deteriorated, kala nashtam, kala is time, nashta is destroyed, bhakti yogam nijamyaha. So to revive that, the Lord has come here, Pradushkartam, who has come Krishna Chaitanya Nama. This Lord whose personality, whose name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and to revive that. And what does Sarbhava Bhattacharya wants to do? He wants to be like a honeybee. Bringa is honeybee, and his conscious, like a honeybee always goes and stays on top of a flower. In the same way, he wants his consciousness to be in the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Kalanashtam Bhakti Yogam Najamya Pradushkartam Krishna Chaitanya Nama Avirbhuta Tasya Padaravinde Garham Gardam Liyatam Chitta Bringaha. The consciousness always at the feet of the Supreme Personality, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let's move to the next temple. Again, I said I'm really not doing justice to any temple, any particular temple, but it'll be nice to go as a tour of different temples. And in all these temples, I've given the verse number in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya has visited the temple. So this is the next temple called as, right now it is called Alarnath. In past, it was called Arvarnath, as a temple which was as a deity of the Sri Vaishnavas, devotees called Arvars. And over course of time, it came to be called as Alarnath. And this is covered in verses Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 7.76 through 95. And here is the deity, the four-handed deity of Arvarnath or Alarnath. It's 14 miles from Puri, and the deity is a four-handed form of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Chaitanya used to stay here for 2 weeks during the Rath Yatra. And the temple is very popular for another reason, because as Lord Chaitanya was dancing and he fell on a stone slab in this temple, and when he fell on the stone slab, the heat emanating from the spiritual body of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it melted the stone, and the form of the Lord's form is embedded on the stone right now, and just showing how what kind of pastimes were exhibited by Lord Chaitanya. So here is the six-handed form of Lord Chaitanya, which is depicted here in the temple, and here is the form of Lord Chaitanya as the stone slab melted and when he fell, and that is can be seen today in the temple there. So it's in a place called Brahmagiri, 14 miles from Puri. The next temple we'll do is called Kshirachora Gopinath. Kshirachora Gopinath, it will take me a whole lecture to do just this one temple. So Kshirachora Gopinath was, it's in a place called as Remuda. And this is the temple in its in the current today, and it is covered in Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 4, verses 1 through 213. There are 213 verses covering this temple, because it has a big history to it. The temple is very popular with reference to the great devotee called Sri Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri, so he was in Vrindavan, and at that time he had his deity called as Gopala. Gopala was on top of the Govardhan hill when Madhavendra Puri discovered the deity from the bushes, and then he wanted to cool down the deity. He wanted to bring some sandalwood logs from near the current day Puri, which is called Nilachal. And so when he traveled, he came to this temple of Gopinath, Gopinath. And at that time, there was an offering that was being done to the deity. And the deity to whom he had to go rub the sandalwood paste, he's called Gopala. Right now, the deity is not in in Govardhan. The deity is in Rajasthan in Nathadwar. And the deity's name right now is called Srinathji. So, and then there was an offering being done to this Gopinath deity called Amrit Keli. It's like a kheer or kheer. And so at that time, Madhavendra Puri was wondering what could be the recipe of that food item, because he wanted to prepare the same food for his Gopala deity, which is now Srinath deity in Govardhan. So, and then he thought, okay, what an offense I've committed, to do recipe calculation during an offering. And so he felt very bad. So he just left. He didn't eat anything. He just went and sat under a tree near the temple. But Krishna was observing all these things. And then what he did, he hid one of the sweet rice pot, one of the kheer pot, and under in his robes. And he told the priest in his dream that there is this nice devotee of mine called Madhavendra Puri. Please go. I've kept a pot for him. Please ask him to taste this. Okay. And then bring him inside. And the priest went to call Madhavendra Puri, and later Madhavendra Puri applies the sandalwood paste to this Gopinath itself, because Gopinath is different, not different from the Gopala of in the Govardhan hill. So because the deity stole the kheer for Madhavendra Puri, he came to be popularly known as Ksheerachora Gopinath. And this story is narrated by Lord Nityananda in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it appears in this chapter 4. Throughout the entire chapter is about the history of this particular temple. And you also find the Samadhi of Madhavendra Puri near the Samadhi tomb near Remuna. And here is also another Samadhi there of another Gaudiya Vaishnava devotee. The Gopinath deity was first carved at Chitrakoot. It was first carved by Lord Rama and worshipped by Sita Devi. And then that was 4 cycles ago. It was in Treta Yuga, 4 cycles ago, when Lord Rama appeared. Then Lord Brahma took over the worship. And then in the 1200s, King Narasimha Deva in this Kali took over the worship of this deity. And now the deity is established in Remuna. And there's another Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas afterwards, after Lord Chaitanya's times. And his name was called Rasikananda. And he was a disciple of Shyamananda Pandit. Shyamananda Pandit is one of the 3 principal disciples, along with Srinivas Acharya and Narottama Das Thakur. These 3 were contemporary devotees in Vrindavan. And Rasikananda was a disciple of Shyamananda Pandit, excavated a pond, and the deity, he hid the deity during one of the Mughal invasions there. And this is his Samadhi is also there in this Ksheerachora Gopinath temple. So, and it has the temple, it also has the disappearance of Rasikananda in the temple with all his 7 associates, all of their Samadhis, everything is there in this temple. So the next temple we'll do is called Sakshi Gopal. Okay, so Sakshi Gopal is right near Puri, Jagannath temple. Okay, and it is covered in a number of verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, verses chapter 5, verses 5 through 139. And here is the beautiful deity of Sakshi Gopal. And here is the beautiful temple. And Sakshi Gopal, as the name tells you, that Krishna comes as a witness, as Sakshi for a devotee. The temple is about 6 miles from Puri. And the story, I'll make the story very brief because most of us know the story, and we narrate it to our kids all the time. So the deity, there was a young Brahmana who was serving an older Brahmana, who then in Vrindavan, but then the older Brahmana promised that he would give his daughter in marriage to the younger Brahmana. But then the older Brahmana would not keep up his promise because all his family members said, okay, so this is a poor man, we are not giving our daughter to him. And then the older Brahmana, the young Brahmana, he had so much faith in the deity of Gopala, who was in Vrindavan first. He went back to Vrindavan and said, you see, that old Brahmana promised me that he will give me his daughter in marriage in front of you. So you are the witness. So you please come with me to, you please come with me to that village and give witness. Okay, take the witness and tell that he indeed did say that he would give his daughter in marriage. And then the deity of Gopala told him, well, it's not making much sense. Have you ever known deities walking like this, 1,000 miles going from one place to another to give witness? You have never heard of it. And then that young Brahmana, he had so much faith in Krishna. He said, well, have you also heard of deities talking like this to me? So if you can talk, then you can walk. So you please come with me 1,000 miles, come and first give witness. And then the deity said, okay, I will come, but you should not look behind. You will hear the ankle bell sound of mine, and you will know that I'm coming. If you look behind, then I would stop walking. And then the deity started walking. And then at a certain time, he could not hear the ankle bell sound anymore. He suddenly turned. And then the deity told him, okay, I will just stand here. You go bring the old Brahmana families, the entire village, and I will give witness. And then the young Brahmana went. And then he brought the town for the members of the village. Everybody came, the family came, and Gopala himself gave the witness. So this is a beautiful deity who reciprocated to the loving devotional service of this young Brahmana. And later, King Purushottama moved the deity from, it was first there in the place called Vidyanagara, and then it was moved to this new city in Odisha. So, and the deity was also in the Jagannath temple for some time, and then before it was moved to the current place, 6 miles away from Puri. So this is the next temple we did. Let's move to the okay, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further moved, he in his South India tour, we'll cover this temple quickly. There is only one verse about this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 9.17 of the temples of Ahobilam. So the Ahobilam temple, it's in these beautiful hills, all dedicated to Lord Nrsimha. And this is the picture shown here is the I will show you soon. It is not the first deity here, but I'll show you soon. It's called in the place called as Upper Ahobilam. Currently, that's what it is called. And I will talk about it soon. The first Nrsimha deity here is called Bhargava Nrsimha, because it was a deity who was used for penance by Lord Parshuram. Parshuram was a son, was in the lineage of sage Bhrigu, and so he was called as Bhargava Rama. And therefore, this particular Nrsimha was associated with Lord Parshurama there, and so he was called as Bhargava Nrsimha. The second Nrsimha deity there is called Yogananda Nrsimha Swami, and where Lord Nrsimha then taught many yogic postures to Prahlad Maharaj. And then there is a Chhatravata Nrsimha deity. It's a translation for the word people tree. Vata is tree, so Chhatravata. So under the people tree, the deity is installed, and so he's called as Chhatravata Nrsimha. Then you have another Nrsimha who's shown here in the right called Ahobila Nrsimha. Ahobila Nrsimha is in the upper Nrsimha. He's in a very fierce form, and he's called as Ugra Nrsimha. And he was self-manifest, and so it's a Swayambhu deity. He was manifest by himself, and the principal deity among the 9 deities here. And then there is a Varaha Nrsimha, the deity with the face of Lord Varaha, and he's seen with Lord Lakshmi Devi here. And then there is a Karanjan Nrsimha, another deity. So you'll have to walk a couple of miles for each of these deities. Some are close to each other, some are not. It takes an all day to visit all these deities. And usually they give you a stick because there are a lot of monkeys in the path. And a deity is installed under a tree called the Karanja tree. And so it's called Karanjan Nrsimha. And then there is a deity called Ma Lola Nrsimha. Ma refers to Shri or Mahalakshmi here, and he is pleasing Lord. The Lord is goddess Mahalakshmi here, and it's called Ma Lola Nrsimha. And the deity is very graceful here and referred to as Saumya form, or the graceful form of the Lord. And then there is a Jwala Nrsimha, the temple here. It's one of the higher in the higher altitudes of the hill, and it's the actual. They say it's the actual spot where the fierce anger of Lord Nrsimha was manifest, and it reached culmination in the spot. And it's you have to walk quite a bit. There are some little bit waterfalls and stuff like that on the way, and then it's like a single path. You go through it, and then finally you reach this place of Jwala Nrsimha. Jwala Narasimha. And then there is a river called as Pavana River, and called Pavana Narasimha on the banks of this river. And what is not covered in this 9 is called Prahlad Varada, who is in the lower Ahobilam and who is depicted in the picture here. This is probably the largest temple in terms of the size of a temple. And it's in what is currently called as the lower Ahobilam. And you can see Prahlad Maharaj here, and then Lakshmi Devi here, and then you have Lord Narasimha here, and he's called as Prahlad Varada. So this is one of the temples Lord Chaitanya visited. And then there is also Ugra Stamba, which is like a cleft of a mountain, through which Lord Narasimha came out of that pillar, and that is also there. And right now, I think it's not accessible. It used to be accessible before, but I think there is. But I think you can go there, but it is like a separate trek there. So a lot of people don't go there, but there are a few people who do visit there also. And then let's go to the next temple, which is called Tirumala. Both Tirumala and Tirupati, both are covered in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, verse number Madhya Leela 9.64. The deity has been covered by a number of Sri Vaishnava Acharyas whose names are listed here as Poigai Arvar, Bhudattarvar, Pei Arvar, Tirumalai Arvar, Peri Arvar, Andal, Tiruppan Arvar, Tirumangai Arvar, Nammarvar. All these Arvars lived between 4300 BC to 2300 BC. 3 of those Arvars were in the Dwapar Yuga. The modern day historians give some dates which are not there in the Vaishnava literature. So these are the dates which are there in the Vaishnava literature between 4300 BC to 2300 BC. So, and there are 7 hills there, which are called as, which are all these are mentioned in the purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, called as Sheshadri, associated with the Shesha, Niladri, associated with the deity of Neela Devi, and then Garudadri associated with Lord Garuda, Anjanadri associated with Lord Hanuman being the son of Anjana, and then Vrishabhadri, okay, and then Narayanadri and Venkatadri, where Lord as Venkateshwara resides. And then in the month of Margashira, there is a dedicated worship of Krishna through one of the Arvar devotees of Andal. And then there is a Lord Narasimha temple midway on the way up, and the goddess Padmavati deity is in the Tirupati, not in the hills. And then the temple was all the activities of the temple have been established by Ramanujacharya, and he established everything, the deity ornament, everything, the tilak shape, everything was established by Ramanujacharya and his followers. Just leave it there. And then the same offerings that are done in the Tirumala deity, they also do it in the Tirupati, which is in the plains below. There, the name of the deity there is called Govindaraja Swami Temple. He exists as Lord Govinda in a reclining position here, and this is deity is they pretty much do the same offerings as they do for Lord Venkateshwara in the Tirumala hills, and but there are some excellent pastimes with this deity too, because long in the 1300s there was a king in the south called a Chora king who was very who had a lot of animosity towards the Vaishnavas, and so they had to there was a place called as Chidambaram, and the place Chidambaram has a beautiful deity of Krishna called as Govindaraja Swami. And it is called, the place in the Vaishnava parlance is narrated as Chitrakoot, okay, Chitrakutam. And that deity was, the king threw it in the ocean, but the metal deity to whom they used to do the Abhishek was saved by the Sri Vaishnavas and then transported to this particular temple, okay, called as the Govindaraja Swami temple. So the deity which was originally there in the Chidambaram temple is actually now there in Andhra Pradesh in the Sri Govindaraja Swami temple. So it has some rich pastimes there. And then the next temple I'll go with where Lord Chaitanya stayed for almost 4 months during the Chaturmasya festival, called as the Srirangam. It's covered in verses. There are about 80 verses covering this particular temple because numerous pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are narrated here. Chapter 9, verses 79 through 164, because he stayed there for 4 months in the head priest of the temple called as Venkata Bhatta, and is also covered as the first Divya Desam of the Sri Vaishnava list of temples. And all the Arvar, Sri Vaishnava saints called the Arvars also sang about this particular Lord called Sri Ranganatha Swami. And he is Kshirodakasai Vishnu. So we can find Vishnu in different forms of Vishnu lie in different temples. So like, for example, the Padmanabha Swami temple is the Garbhodakasai Vishnu who lies in the Garbhodaka ocean. Here you don't see any lotus flower coming from his navel pit. He is the Vishnu who lies in the milk ocean and as the super soul in the living entities in this universe. And he arrived in this particular place in the 24th cycle's Treta Yuga and was first worshipped by Ikshvaku in Lord Rama's dynasty and later was received by Lord Brahma and worshipped in the Satyaloka. And then during the pastimes of Sri Ramachandra Prabhu, at that time, Vibhishana took the deity and established in the current location. And all the procedures have been set by Sri Ramanujacharya. And Lord Chaitanya stayed in this temple for 4 months, and he was and he has some amazing conversations with the head priest of the temple and explains the glories of the worship of Sri Radha Krishna. And during this course of time, he exhibited. There was the dance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there was so amazing in front of the deity of this particular temple. And there was this brother of Venkata Bhatta. His name was called as Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati. And when he sees this beautiful form of Lord Chaitanya dancing at the Sri Rangam temple, he composes beautiful verses about him later, and which are recorded in a Sanskrit scripture called as Sri Chaitanya Chandramrita. And he describes the blissful, if you take all the blissful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, of a person, okay, Ananda Leela, all the blissful Leelas, and if you make that into a form, he says, so Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya. So all the beautiful, the blissful pastimes, if you can make it into a person, that is what he was able to see that as Lord Chaitanya. Hema Vidivya Chavisundaraya. Hema means golden. It's not some ordinary gold that we wear, but it was a transcendental gold. Divya, Hema Divya. Divya means transcendental. Hema is gold. Hema Vidivya. Transcendental gold, if you make that into a form, Chavisundaraya, it was so beautiful and like as though a spiritual gold, if you make it into a form, that is how he was appearing in front of this Prabodhananda Saraswati. Hey, Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya, Hema Vidivya Chavisundaraya, Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya. He was freely distributing this Krishna Prema Rasa, the mellow of Krishna Prema. He was just freely distributing. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. And to that moon-like Sri Chaitanya, he's offering his humble obeisances. And he goes on, he says, in another verse, he says, Samsara Sindhu Tarani Hridayam Yadishyat. Samsara Sindhu. Samsara means material existence. Sindhu means ocean. The ocean of material existence is samsara sindhu tarane. Tar means to cross. If anybody, hridaya means heart. If your heart is wishing to cross this ocean of material existence, does your heart want? He's asking the question, does your heart want to cross this ocean of material existence? Number 2. Samsara sindhu tarane hridayam yadishyat. Sankirtanamrita rase Ramate Manascheta. Mana means mind. If your mind wants to float in the bliss of Sri Krishna Sankirtan, does your heart want to cross the ocean of material existence? Does your mind want to float in the nectarian Krishna Sankirtan? And then he says, Premambudo Viharane Yadi Chitta Vritish. Chitta means consciousness. And if does your consciousness want to reside? Viharane, Vihar means to reside, right? So Viharane Yadi Chitta Vritish. So does your consciousness want to reside in the love of Krishna? Premambude. Okay, into the love of Krishna. Chaitanya Chandra Charanam Sharanam Prayatu. Please surrender unto the lotus feet. Please fall obeisances unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. So in this way, he is telling these are all the kind of things which people who have seen Lord Chaitanya at that time, they have observed. They're not like, there are so many biographies of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Charitamrita is, of course, the most popular, well-read, and authoritative, and but it mainly covers the middle and the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Bhagavata covers predominantly the earlier pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explicitly tells that he's not repeating all what is already mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. Chaitanya Mangala covers all the rasas, all the mellows of Lord Chaitanya, and it is very esoteric and a little more advanced in nature. And then you have Chaitanya Chandramrita is not a biography, but it has all the different symptoms exhibited by Lord Chaitanya as observed by the devotees, and was written by this Prabodhananda Saraswati, who was in the Sri Vaishnava family, but then he went to Vrindavan later. And as he wrote this Chaitanya Chandramrita, he also wrote another book which is very, very popular. It has, I think, 16,000 verses or something like that, I think, in Sanskrit. It is called as Vrindavana Mahimamrita. Has the and then Venkata Bhatta, his son, was a very young boy at the time. He was called as Gopala Bhatta. He also went behind Lord Chaitanya later and joined Vrindavan, the Goswamis, and later became one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, called as Gopala Bhatta Goswami. And then he studied under Jiva Goswami later. So these are the temple tower of the Srirangam temple, and the temple has 7 concentric layers, and at different times these walls get destroyed and a new set of walls have been built by different kings, but the temple has been existing for at least 4 cycles of Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. And then this particular temple is not directly mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as such, but it is mentioned in the purport, and it is called as, before it used to be called as Kudandai, but right now it is called as Kumbakonam. This is the place where, again, Lord Vishnu is lying down in a reclining position, but his head is slightly, not entirely reclining, but like almost in a wake-up position, because there was one particular Vaishnava saint, and his name was called Tirumalai Sai Arvar. And this Arvar, he was praying in the temple, and then he was going to go somewhere else, but he didn't want to leave the deity behind and go. So he told the deity, okay, you also come with me, let's go together. And then and the deity almost started waking up. And then he said, and he felt suddenly so bad, what is this? I'm asking the deity to wake up and come with me. He said, no, it's fine, just lie down back. And then so now the deity is like in a half sleeping and half non-reclining position kind of a thing. And the deity's name is there in Tamil, and it is called as Aravamu, that means nectarian lord. But the small deity in the metal here is called as Sharangapani, okay, who's the deity who yields the weapon called as Sharanga. And the temple has, this particular deity is very popular because the Arvar saints in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they have what are called as the 4,000 hymns. The first 10 hymns of that was found in this particular temple, and it goes by this thing called Ara Vamudi Adiyen Udalam. So it starts like this, and therefore it was found in this particular temple, and it gave clue that there were 1,000 such other hymns composed by the saint called as the Nammarva. So this is the temple tower of that particular temple called as Sharangapani. And then this is the temple I spoke to you when I spoke about in Tirupati, the Govindaraja Swami. So this is the deity. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned as Pitambara Kshetra, which refers to the deity of Lord Shiva there, whom he visited there, called as Nataraj, where Lord Shiva is dancing, and is covered as the 40th Divya Desam of the Sri Vaishnava lineage. And the main deity here was thrown into the ocean, but then the metal deity here was rescued by the Sri Vaishnavas and then established in in Tirupati. And how the deity came about here was because there was a competition. I'll just do this for 2 minutes. There was a competition between Lord Shiva, who was dancing, and his consort goddess Parvati Devi, as who is a better dancer. And nobody felt qualified to judge that competition. And so the Supreme Lord was invited, and he came there as Govinda Rajaswami, and he was lying down watching this dance between them. And finally, Lord Shiva did win. And so he's the only temple where he's there in the dancing form there. And Parvati Devi was not happy with the result. So she left the temple angry, and there's no deity of the goddess there right now. She's outside there as Bhadrakali. And then here is the deity of another verse mentioned here as Trivikrama Swami, as Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, verse 9.21. And the Lord is found here as is a huge deity with 1 foot up going towards the ceiling as Lord Vamana. He measuring the sky, and this is the 42nd Divya Desam, and initially, the deity was the only deity there was that of Krishna, and later, as Trivikrama, as Lord Vamana was established. The deity is very popular because the first 3 Arvars in the Dwapar Yuga, they all met in front of. This is the beauty of the Vaishnava association. That how always what is one of the principal reasons where Vaishnavas take pleasure in is an association of devotees. Okay, so if you can see that throughout the Vaishnava history, that what they really want is the association of devotees. We can see this also in a lecture of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He has narrated a number of stories with reference to some Arvars, especially Kulashekara Arvar and the Srirangam temple. And there he mentions in one of his lectures, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj mentions how Kulashekara Arvar, he always wanted to be in the Srirangam temple. The reason for that is because of the Vaishnavas. It was a capital for the association of the three Vaishnavas there in the temple. In the same way, we go to Vrindavan in Mayapur because we can find a huge congregation of the Vaishnavas there in the same way, you can see that these Arvars, what did they like there? They liked interacting with each other to discuss the glories of Krishna. That is their principal thing. Vaishnavas, they don't come talk with each other, mundane activities. That is not Vaishnava behavior. But what they want to talk about, the reason why the Vaishnavas are associating is because they want to discuss with each other. They have something in common. Okay, so, and what is that thing, that common? The common thing is both of them are interested in the glories of Krishna. That is what they want to discuss. So today we have so many societies. So we have society of that, society of this, so many scientific societies. Why is it that we have all these scientific societies? Because people find like-minded people congregate there so that they can sort of interact and discuss same subject. Maybe there is a society of a particular science they discuss. In the same way, we have, the Prabhupada says that we have, these are not things which I am saying. I lifted this directly from the purport of Nectar of Instruction. And there Prabhupada says, we established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness so that like-minded people can come together and associate and relish the pastimes and the glories of Krishna. So, and then this is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, verse 99.69 Madhya Leela. And it is mentioned as Vishnu Kanchi. And the deity's name is Lord Varada. He is, in Sanskrit, he is also called as Sri Deva Rajaswami. Deva means all the demigods. The king of all the demigods is Deva Rajaswami. And he had personal interactions with a particular Vaishnava devotee, Sri Vaishnava devotee called Tirikachi Nambi, who happened to be the mentor of the famous Vaishnava Acharya, Sri Ramanujacharya. And there were several interactions of Ramanujacharya, and also was seen by his spiritual master called Yamunacharya, and which is very popular. Prabhupada has also written translations of some of his work. And this is covered under Vishnu Kanchi in verse 9.69. This is the form of Lord Vamana. It's a huge deity. So it is so beautiful to look at. And he is almost like when you go into the altar, you have to look up like this. He goes all the way from here to the top of the ceiling because he is Lord Vamana. He expanded so much and then put his foot in the cosmos that his toenail pierced the covering of the universe. Okay, that the outside this universe there was the causal ocean. And from the causal ocean, it started leaking into this universe, which is what is now formed as Ganga, the river Ganga. All right, from the lotus feet of the Karanodakasai Vishnu. So that is how the form of the Lord was, and the deity is so beautiful to explain the magnificence of the appearance of Lord Vamana. And then this is another temple which I'm going to cover. It is covered in verse number 9.219 in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. And it is covered as one word in that verse called as Nava Tirupati. Nava Tirupati, there are 9 temples of Lord Vishnu. And in the district called as Tirunelveli district. And out of which I'm taking only 2 temples here in the interest of time. I've been given a cutoff of 210 for prasadam. So I'll cover only about 4 or 5 more temples and then I will close. And this is the amazingly beautiful deity in Tirukurungudi. And it's the 78th Sri Vaishnava Divya Desam. The deity is so beautiful, and there are 5 particular deities in this particular complex. And one of the famous name of the deity here is in one of the deities is called as Vaishnava Nambi. And the deity is so beautiful, and he is greenish in complexion. And the altar is so dark, but the priest there would show you with the light, and as soon as they show the light on the face, you can see the beautiful greenish complexion, and he's so amazingly beautiful. It would be very nice if we go for a pilgrimage and see these amazingly beautiful deities. And here is another temple called as Arva Tirunagari, covered in the same verse 9.219, and it's very closely associated with the Arvar saint called as Nammarvar. And here is the tree under which Nammarvar was composed his 1,000 verses. There is more than 1,000, but here is a picture of that Vaishnava saint, and the tree is still maintained with enclosures. And I've just added this as a 9.178 verse number Madhya Leela. It's a beautiful temple. And the reason it's next to some hills, and he's called as Kallaragar, okay? And but in Sanskrit, he's called as Sundar Rajaswami, and it's covered in the purport of that particular verse as Sundar Rajaswami. And the reason I just wanted to just show you the beautiful deity here in Madurai. The deity is so beautiful to look at, and so he was called as Sundar Raj, so as a king of all beauty. And this is the next last but 3 temple or something I think I'm going to do. It's in a place called Thiruvattar. It was there in the Travancore district, but right now it is in the state borders of Tamil Nadu. But before it was there under the administration of the Padmanabha Swami temple, mentioned in verses 235 to 240. There are about 5 verses about this temple. The deity is so long in length. The deity is even bigger than the Padmanabha Swami, and it is like in the opposite direction as the Padmanabha Swami temple, and he is called as Sri Adi Keshava. Is very, very dear to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because it was in this temple that Lord Chaitanya, it's an 18 feet deity, but a few years ago when I went, the deity was not washed. It was in a very difficult situation, but right now I hear that they have completed the renovation and they have started active service of the deities here. And but he found, the Lord Chaitanya found the Brahma Samhita in this particular temple. So it is very, very dear to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And this is the entrance of the temple. And then the Padmanabha Swami covered in 2 verses, 241, 242, and you can find the footprints of Lord Chaitanya at the entrance of the temple. And as soon as you go into the temple, the first thing you will find is the footprints of Lord Chaitanya. In the same way, in the Srirangam temple too, outside the temple complex, there is the tower, and you can find the deity of Lord Chaitanya right in front of the entrance of the temple. In the same way, Padmanabha Swami is inside the temple, but you find the footprints of Lord Chaitanya there at the entrance. And the deity is pretty long, 20 feet long, and viewed through 3 doors. The deity has a very rich history with this particular Arvar called as Kulashekara Arvar, and it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam verses Canto 10, verse 17, verse 18, because Lord Balarama visited this temple among. There is also a similar statement made by Prabhupada in the Krishna book, which I found in chapter 79, but I could not find the exact name of it. But there are other places also where the name of the deity is mentioned. There is also a temple of Lord Krishna called as Parthasarathi, which is even older than the Padmanabha Swami temple, Padmanabha Swami deity, and it is also there, independent of the main temple altar. You find that deity of Krishna also there. So there's just a rendering. I'm not sure if there's any real photograph or something, but this is the temple pond of Lord Padmanabha Swami. And then I think this is my last slide, I hope so. And then this is the Udupi Sri Krishna temple, and he was found by Sri Madhvacharya. He actually found a twin deity of Krishna and Balaram. Lord Balaram was installed a few miles away, and Krishna is installed in the main temple right now. And it's the seat of the Tattvavada philosophy of the Madhvas, and the procedures were all established by Madhvacharya. Very beautiful deity. The deity has a rich history with a number of Vaishnava devotees, and one of the devotees I'm mentioning here is called as Kanakadas. He was not allowed inside the temple, but he really wanted to see the temple. And here the so-called Brahmanas were offering arti to the deity, but the deity was more interested in seeing that Kanakadas. So the behind the altar, the walls broke, and then it created a window, and the deity turned 180 degree to face the devotee called Kanakadas. So even now we are able to see the deity only through that window, okay, through which he turned 90 degree. So the wall broke, and then Kanaka came. So this is that window through which we're able to see the deity. And this is every day they decorate the deity with new decorations, new forms. Every day is in a different appearance. It's so amazingly they decorate the deity of Krishna. And okay, this is my last slide. This is in Pandharpur and Maharashtra, covered in verses Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 9.282 to 301. The deity's name is Pandurang Vitthal, and by the river Bhima, and there are 14 bathing ghats there, and it has a rich history with a number of Vaishnavas there of Maharashtra, and the deity is 5,000 years old, self-manifest deity, and has a number of interactions there. Lord Chaitanya went there and also inquired about the disappearance of his older brother there from in that particular temple. And it's popular. I don't know the source of this particular statement, but it is popularly narrated that Tukaram, who has composed many of the prayers of Lord Krishna, called as Abhang, and was the disciple of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and his older brother Vishwarupa, his disappearance also was in this place. And the temple has a very rich history with devotees. So what we have done today is covered about, I think we're going to cover about 33 temples or something in the temple in tour of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, since Gaura Purnima is coming this Thursday. And all glories to Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to all the Vaishnavas assembled here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you very much. If there is any mistake I have done, please let me know. It's actually past the time, so I don't know if there's any time for any discussion, but we'll stop here. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Give praise Jayananda Gauranga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, we request you just hold on for 2 minutes. We have a quick announcement here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. On behalf of ISKCON Farmington Temple, we'd like to welcome you to Sunday Lectures, which happens every